Dragon Ball Sparking Zero has been met with critical acclaim from fans. How could it not? It is the fan-requested game of legend, the fabled Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 4. Though like all games, there's a lot of stuff under the hood that wasn't used inside the game. And for Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, that's of course no exception. So today we're going to be taking a deep dive into some of the cut content from Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. Huge shoutouts of course to the cutting room floor for helping me create this video. This video would not have been possible without them. So without any further ado guys, let's hop right into some unused content. Starting us off, we'll start pretty basic, and we're going to take a look at this unused Goku test model. This, of course, is just your run-of-the-mill test that pretty much just tests articles of clothing, seeing how things look. Some things aren't colored properly. It kind of looks like, I'm not sure if I'm just seeing things, but he has like Shenron's tail, or Broly's, his like belt thing. Of course, he has Piccolo's cape on. He has like Saiyan armor pads. Funnily enough, if you take a look at his legs, and then on the right side, he actually has it's like colored in black. This is a very interesting costume, and as far as I know, this is actually moddable into the game. And because of the way it works, I would not be surprised if this works online with your friends. So feel free to horrify your friends with this monstrosity if you can manage to find a mod and making it so you can equip this into the game. But for the most part, this is obviously just your standard run-of-the-mill test model for these types of games. Kind of like a test map that always in a platformer would test how physics and stuff work. So moving on from test models, we're gonna now go into, you could technically call them test variants, but these are more just unused variants, or unused also in quotation marks, as of course Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Goku is playable in the final game. Same with Evolution Blue Vegeta. However, taking a look at these screenshots, and of course just in the data specifically, Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Goku and Evolution Blue Vegeta are actually technically separate characters. If you manage to mod these guys into the game, they have their own images on the character select screen, and they have their own functionality as separate characters. At one point in development, these two characters of course were meant to be separate transformations for Goku and Vegeta, but I guess not to clog up the roster with even more Goku and Vegetas, they opted to have these guys as power-ups for the blue duo. Can't really say I fully agree with this, especially for Super Saiyan Blue Evolved Vegeta, as that is a completely new transformation. If you're curious on how these guys function, they function the exact same way as their power-ups do. However, they don't have any skills or super attacks, as you can see on screen. Alright, moving on from some characters for a little while, let's talk about some stages that are actually unusable. Stage selection in this game is pretty lacking for a lot of people, myself included. I think maybe about 8 more stages would probably do this game extremely well, and funnily enough, there's plenty more than 8 stages inside the game's data, so let's dive right into it. Starting us off, we have the tutorial stage. This is actually just the rocky land with no debris around, no obstacles or anything. It's pretty much just a flat map, kind of like the hyperbolic time chamber. This was used for the tutorial, and funnily enough, I never knew this was an actual unique stage, because I doubt any of us did. When we first hopped in, we were just fighting Vegeta. We didn't pay attention to our surroundings, but this is actually a fully fleshed out stage you can select if you manage to use mods. We have some versions of Namek without spaceships. For example, we have one without Goku's spaceship and without Frieza's spaceship and without any spaceships, which is pretty cool. We have variants of existing maps with specific Frieza ships on them. We have the open field map with Frieza's spaceship in the background. This is of course used in the Resurrection F saga for various characters who take place in that. And we of course have the Rocky Canyon as well, which also has Frieza's ship. This is used for Trunks fighting Mecha Frieza and everything. We have a destroyed version of the Cell Games Arena, which is of course from Cell blowing up the arena. This is actually a very strange unused stage. You'd think this would just be a variant for the Cell Games Arena, as the starting positions themselves are also changed. So this stage doesn't really have a reason for it not being playable. This one has confused me ever since I first saw this in the story mode. For some reason, the Land of the Kai from the 10th universe is not a usable stage. Why is this just not a variant of the Land of the Kai stage? Even as a secret button combination, like in Budokai 3, when you could actually play on alternate versions of stages by pressing circle instead of X. This one is actually pretty interesting. We all know the destroyed Dark Future City, right? With green clouds and everything. There's actually a variation of that city. Wherever you go full power sparking mode in this game, you actually turn the sky into what it looked like from the Shadow Dragon saga. I don't recall this actually being used in the story mode anywhere, but this is actually very cool, and one of the really cool unused stages inside of this game. Following up that, this stage also has another variant for some reason. You can actually turn the sky more with a reddish hue. This was, I believe, used in the Rosé story. I don't remember seeing this one. I played through all the stories, but though I have never seen this stage personally. Feel free to let me know if this actually is used in the story mode. I don't believe either of these last two stages are. We also have multiple variants of the Termina Power Arena. We have it where it's completely flat with nothing on it. We have the arena where part of the map is blown off. It has proper collision and everything, indestructible objects. We also have a version of it where the little pillar in the middle is pretty much almost about to run out. Once again, I'm going to sound like a broken record with a few of these stages, but why the hell are these not usable? Just add a little arrow in the Termina Power Arena, man. It can't be that hard, right? A map I'm sure a lot of people were not expecting is you can actually fight on the title screen. The title screen itself actually is a map in the game you can fight on. The bloom is unbelievable. I would love to see an ultimate compilation video of all ultimates in this game on the stage. This shit is insane. Of course, it's not meant to be playable, no shit, so the boundaries are like really bad. Like if you get hit in a combo, you're falling infinitely and you're never recovering. Another really interesting stage is if you remember during the story mode when characters are flying, you know, through like the little space from the Broly movie where it showed like a recap of all of Dragon Ball. You can actually fight on that stage, and like the title screen, it is so trippy fighting on this stage. There's like fire sparks all over the map. There's some other really fun stages, kind of like, remember when I was talking about the modeled NPCs actually being specific characters and separate characters you can play as technically? Well, on the main menu, of course, you see all those locales Goku flies to. All of those stages are actually selectable as well. Technically, they're all in the game as loadable maps you can fight on, like the title screen and everything. They all, you know, have really weird boundaries. A few of the stages are actually, you know, semi-fightable, including Kame House, which for some reason is not an actual map. But some, like Kami's Lookout, are completely broken, though the Raditz Saiyan pod area from, you know, the story mode of the Saiyan Saga actually functions a very big map. You're going to get hit or miss with any of these maps, but it's still really cool to see them in here. I thought I'd probably save the best for last, and unbelievably, something I was completely just, you know, my socks were blown off with this one, but the announcement area when Budokai Tenkaichi 4 was the presumed name for the game, the announcement area where Goku transforms into Super Saiyan Blue for the first time in that little gif, you know, of him, you know, going blue then doing his intro, is actually a stage in the game, and it's functional too, and it actually works as a map for the most part. Yeah, this area right here you see, this is actually a map you can fight on. It's like, let it just speak for itself, man. Like, that is wild they left this in here. Now, that was a lot of stages. I don't believe I missed any. If I did, please feel free to let me know in the comments. Now, we're going to move on from some stages, and we're going to talk about our final section of the video, and we're going to be talking about some unused costumes and variants of characters, plus some NPCs you cannot control under any circumstances. So, starting us off is, inside of the game, pretty much every single model you see, for example, the Great Ape, as you can see from this screenshot, King Kai, Chi-Chi, Bulma, all these characters you see, like that have full models Dende, these characters are all technically playable in the game, and they technically all also have their own character selects. You can actually be selected on the character select screen via mods, of course. All these NPC characters like Bulma, the Great Ape, Chi-Chi all use base form Super Goku's moveset, and I believe they can even transform as well. This is, of course, very interesting, but not something we have never seen before, especially in a Dragon Ball game. Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 has something very similar. All the fully modeled NPCs in that game are technically selectable on the roster too. However, in that game, unlike this game using base form Goku's moveset for all these NPCs, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 actually uses various characters' moveset. For example, Dende in that game uses Omega Shenron's moveset. I believe the NPC version of Supreme Kai of Time uses the female Saiyan's moveset, etc., etc. This is not something completely out of the ordinary, but it's definitely something very neat. Following up with, of course, that last entry, we of course have the unused NPC thumbnails. Funnily enough, though, only some of these characters have thumbnails. For example, the Great Ape doesn't have a thumbnail. You can see Belmont has a thumbnail, which doesn't really make sense why he's not playable. They probably could have added him in. The game had a little more time of development, but I don't think this game is struggling with character choices. Who knows, Belmont could always be added in an update or a free DLC or something like that, but it's really cool to see how all these characters were at one point meant to be selectable. The Cutting Room Floor believes that this was meant for the custom battle mode. I personally have never dabbled in the custom battle mode, but apparently these were originally used to be able to select them. And in the custom battle mode, when you're selecting characters for your cutscenes, you could actually see the portraits, so that's what these could have been used for. But considering how not all characters have their own thumbnails of NPCs, this was probably cut pretty early. Now for some unused variations. The most notorious unused variant of a character is Super Saiyan Scouter Vegeta here. This is Cell Saga Vegeta, who actually has an alternate costume for his Scouter uniform where he can go Super Saiyan in it. There's also a version for his destroyed broken armor variation of that skill as well. There's also no Super Vegeta costume for any of these Scouter versions of early Vegeta, which is pretty interesting. Of course, we have the Trunks from the story mode, Trunks Melee from his story where he doesn't actually fight with a sword. This is just a reskin, of course, of, the Cell Saga Trunks where he doesn't fight with a sword. There's also the Fusion Zamasu that fuses with Gohan Black. Is actually a separate costume for Zamasu, but funnily enough, as we'll talk about in a minute, he's also his own separate character along with his transformation, which is very interesting. We have this Jiren here, who's actually used in Jiren's ending cutscene, when he makes his wish and everything from the story. Spoilers, I'm very sorry if you did not get to that point. The game's been out for a month. We had the grace period go away. Anyway, let's continue. This costume for Jiren was, of course, used in that cutscene, and just a few other cutscenes. His aura looks a lot different here, too. I'm shocked they went through the extra effort of adding aura to this unused variation of Jiren, but it does look very nice. And, of course, one of the more controversial parts about this game is the lack of customization on moves. So, in the story mode, as we know, there actually is functionality to change character moves on the whim. For example, Mid-Goku actually has a variation where he doesn't have Angry Kamehameha and he just has Super Kamehameha. All those characters are actually unusable story mode variants you can actually technically select with mods. So starting us off, we have early Goku, who actually has a version where he doesn't have the Kaioken. He has Wild Sense over Kaioken and Meteor Smash over Kaioken Attack, and his Spirit Bomb is replaced with the Super Kamehameha. This was used for the Raditz fight. Early Goku actually has an unusable transformation for Super Saiyan. This is not mid-Goku, this is actually early Goku. He can't actually transform into Super Saiyan, he can only be selected as a separate character. He uses mid-Goku's Super Saiyan moveset, however, he does not have Kamehameha, he has Super Energy Wave combo, and then for his ultimate, he doesn't have Angry Kamehameha, he has Super Kamehameha. As I was just talking about a few moments ago, mid-Goku also has a variation where he does not actually have Angry Kamehameha, he has Super Kamehameha. And he also has a Super Energy Wave combo. This Goku is used in the fight where you grind up Zenny, or most people do at least. Super Saiyan 2 Teen Gohan has a variation where it's the exact same thing, though he doesn't have Father-Son Kamehameha, he only has Raging Masenko. Adult Gohan here also has a separate variation where he doesn't have the Bros Kamehameha. We have a future Trunks Super Saiyan from Dragon Ball Super, who doesn't have the Final Hope Slash. This is used before the Final Hope Slash is introduced in the story, and he just uses DBZ Trunks' ultimate, where he kills Mecha Frieza. Melee Trunks, I was just talking about before, also has a separate variation. This one actually has a few changes. He actually has power up to the very limit over Explosive Wave, he has Gallic Gun over Burning Attack, and he has Final Flash over Burning Breaker. Don't like two beams on the same moveset, he should have had a rush, like High Speed Rush or something, but it's not a big deal, it's just not technically a playable Trunks. He also actually has Heat Dome Attack as his ultimate, so this Trunks can do that too. We have a Majin Vegeta that doesn't do the final explosion, and we have, of course, this guy. I don't need to explain this guy. We have Gohan Black, who's actually fully functional. He, as we all know, he uses Goku Black's moveset, has his own lines, and he can transform into technically Potential Unleashed Gohan Black, who uses Super Saiyan Rose's moveset, and actually has Wild Sense over Instant Transmission. Of course, has his own voices, and I just talked about Gohan Black and his Zamasu fusion are actually separate characters and costumes for the playable fusion Zamasu. So technically speaking, you could have two of these guys on the same team. And that's about it for cut content, guys. Hope you enjoyed. I had a lot of fun making this and doing some research and just playing through the game and noticing a lot of stuff that actually wasn't in the game specifically, but I definitely wanted to make a, nice, concise, informational package for you guys all to consume. Hopefully you guys learned something new in this video. But everybody, I am all out of time. I will catch you all on the next video. Peace out.